Good evening. Welcome to SVG-TV News and Sports for Tuesday, July 23rd. I'm Jimmy Prince with the details. In the news tonight, almost 5 years following the November 25, 2009 referendum for a change in the constitution of this country, former government minister and the current president of the SVG Bar Association, René Batiste, is of the view that the exercise needed much more political education before it began. Batiste made a comment last evening while delivering welcoming remarks at a public lecture hosted by the Vincentian Students Association of the UWI Cayfield campus. The lecture was entitled Constitutional Reform in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, An Opportunity Lost.
Question still remains. After the vote, is this the Constitution we really want? And if you were to ask some folks, what were the first 2 pages of the draft Constitution, they won't remember. The jury is still out. If it was perhaps just too much or too wholesale in approach rather than by retail portions, because we do things by retail, and parts at a time, taking perhaps fundamental rights and you vote on that, the various commissions and vote on that, the law courts, the legislature, the executive, perhaps, and vote on it piece by piece.
The 25th Heads of Social Security meeting opened today at the National Insurance Services headquarters in Kingstown. Representatives from various countries across CARICOM will meet and discuss over the next 3 days matters relating to social security in the region. And according to the Executive Director of the NIS in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Reginald Thomas, the meeting is being held during one of the more challenging times for all social security entities across the region.
We are challenged because of economic hardships. We are challenged because of the decline in social standards. We are challenged because of the issues emanating from the labor market, of which the labor force is a critical component. We are challenged, again, because we are called to be responsive, and the degree to which we can do that produce for us in and of itself a challenge, since we must hold reserves, since we must keep fund ratios, and everything that is important for the stability of a social safety net to the very highest standards.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Al Gonzalez, while delivering the feature presentation of this morning's opening ceremony, states that the lack of a central component or directive to implement policies throughout member states means that there is no mechanism in place for the decisions agreed upon at forums such as this one to be implemented by individual countries.
When you meet, there are certain matters which you can decide from the level of a functional cooperation within the existing juridical framework of the statutes which have established each of these respective entities, which we call the Social Security Institutions, NIS, or by whatever name they're called. And you can do some things administratively and by executive decision on the basis of a common understanding and decisions which you make. But there is no mechanism to compel obedience, and that is why you have the challenge always to ensure reciprocity, and that if you have to make any fundamental change, you have to get it to go to the heads of government or the relevant ministerial council within CARICOM, and then to get it to the attorneys general, and then to get it to the cabinet, and then to get it to the respective parliaments.
Additionally, Dr. Gonzalez explains that the elements surrounding the economic meltdown in 2008 and continuing have not only affected the economies across the region, but that of the collections of social security entities throughout the region.
And at the same time, fewer opportunities arise for your investment. of the monies that you collect. In the case of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the actuary has reported to us that on an average, we require 6.5% returns on our investment. And then some governments begin to run up arrears on their contributions, and state entities and some private sector firms begin to find it difficult to pay all their social security contributions on a timely basis, even though they do their deductions, and you are forced to use the instruments of the law which provide for the enforcement. And there's often a time lag, and there are arrangements made to pay arrears, but they don't quite follow through. And then you have to use whatever attachments you may have in your law to their real property, to their assets and the like.
Following weeks of complaints by Vincentians, internet and the cable provider Flow has promised to review its channel lineup along with pricing and the content structure of its basic package offering. In a letter to Prime Minister Dr. Al Gonzalez dated July 22, 2014, President and Chief Operating Officer of Columbus, John Reid, thanked Dr. Gonzalez for making himself available to meet with Columbus's team. Reid says, further to the meeting and based on the considerable feedback from Prime Minister Gonzalez, the customers and other stakeholders, the Columbus team is reviewing its current channel lineup in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, including the pricing and the content structure of the basic package. The letter further states that Christopher Gordon, local country manager at Columbus, will reach out to Minister of Information Communication Technology, Minister of Communication Technology, Senator Camilo Gonzalez, and other stakeholders from the ministry, the NTRC and Invest SVG to schedule a meeting to develop a framework and identify priorities for social development collaboration. Violence against women remains one of the most widespread human rights violations, yet one of the least prosecuted crimes. That's according to a program specialist with the United Nations for Gender Equality, Gabriel Henderson, while speaking at the National Consultation on National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Henderson says global estimates suggest that up to 6 out of 10 women will experience physical or social violence in her lifetime, and stresses that there is a need for more prosecution.
Gender-based violence, and in particular violence against women and girls, is one of the most common forms of insecurity facing citizens in the Caribbean. The Caribbean Human Development Report notes that citizen insecurity has become an urgent challenge for human development in the Caribbean, with gender seen as the strongest predictor of criminal behavior and criminal victimization. While traditional gender roles inform male vulnerability to involvement in violence and organized crime, women and girls are made vulnerable to physical and sexual abuse.
Henderson notes that 47% of female victims of homicide in 2012 were killed by their intimate partners or family members, compared to less than 6% of male homicide victims.
He notes that while a large share of female homicide victims are murdered by people who are expected to care for them, the majority of men are killed by people they may never know. According to the UNDP Human Development Report on Citizen Security, overall, women also demonstrate higher levels of fear and also report gender differences in fear of crime in the Caribbean.
Meantime, the murder rate in the Caribbean is said to be higher than any other region of the world. That's according to reports from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime and the World Bank. Program specialist within the United Nations Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women, Gabriel Henderson, says that additional to high rates of homicide, assault rates are also significantly above average.
In relation to incidents, this report states that according to the latest available data, based on police statistics, 3 of the top recorded rape rates in the world occur in the Caribbean. In addition to all countries in the Caribbean for which comparable data are available, which includes Bahamas, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Jamaica, St. Kitts and Nevis, Dominica, Barbados, and Trinidad, and Tobago, these countries experience a rate of rape above the unweighted average of 102 countries that were in a crime trend survey.
Welcome back. Business continuity in the event of a disruption must be contextualized in everyday operations. That's according to Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Trade, Nathaniel Williams. He was speaking to participants at the Chamber of Industry and Commerce one-day workshop on business continuity. Williams notes that it is important that persons understand that disruption to business does not only occur during natural disasters.
One of the key workers could fall sick and cannot be at work. And if your business core operation is centered around that person, you have a problem. You may go through a certain natural disaster and your staff are trained to do a job, not to be a team player. You have a problem. There's an old saying that people who start businesses think about themselves and others, and people who seek a job think about themselves.
The Permanent Secretary adds that it is important for businesses to identify and understand the things which are necessary for continuity within their various businesses.
What are the key assets of your business in any eventuality? I would argue, and rightly or wrongly so, that your human resource is one of your first key assets in your operation. Your human resource. Secondly, the system which is established and known by everyone, well established and known by everyone. And thirdly, possibly not in the same order, your information system for communication, both internal and external. 23 stakeholders, accompanied by a number of students of the Langley Park Primary School, were recently involved in a one-week training program on home gardening. The training was organized by the Rural Transformation Unit as part of its development plan for rural communities. Andrea David Latchman, Extension Officer for that district, explains that they decided to work along with farmers in that district because of the type of soil found there, which she says is best suited for vegetable production.
Backyard gardening, but we're concentrating on vegetables and condiments. Now, I would have started with 3 sessions of theoretical training beginning last Thursday, and I would have dealt with the foundation as to explain to them what is really backyard gardening and what it's all about. It's for them to sustain themselves really, and not for any commercial basis. But as I was reiterating, here's where you start as an entrepreneur. Today we would have completed the theoretical session and dealt with the distribution of seedlings as well as seeds.
Meanwhile, 2 of the participants shared their experiences, stating that they are grateful for the training.
I'm glad for the program that I can benefit something from it. I did home and I could go in my backyard and do a little things. So I thank you all that you all come out and give us a support.
So I would like these plants to be into the soil at least today, because the weather is very conducive. And we've been suffering from a lack of rain for the past months or so, because the follow-up meeting that the folks had at Evelyn's shop, I was looking forward for you folks to come a bit before, but it looked like it happened the right time.
3 scholarships and the number of book vouchers were on Tuesday awarded to students by the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Credit Union. The students were awarded for being successful in the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment, and the director of the Credit Union Board, Dwight Lewis, told the students that as they prepare to enter another phase in the learning process, they must appreciate the fact that things will be different, and as a result must be prepared for the change.
A lot will rest on you. You have to determine now where you want to go with your education. You have to determine now who and what you want to be in life, because it is critical at this stage that you develop what we call the knowledge, the skills and the attitudes for living and for production.
He also told the students to be aware of peer pressure, which is likely to occur.
Make friends, you're going to make new friends. You're going to be part of different groupings, informal groupings within your school, within your class, within your forms. Those groups would have varying persons of varying personalities and background. Now, let me implore you here, don't be a follower, be a leader. Don't be a follower, be a leader. And you have to, in your own mind, determine what is good, what is bad, and what is best for you.
Rason Justin Olivier of Paget Farm has been arrested and charged by police here for the offense of unlawfully and maliciously wounding Owen Hazel, a fisherman of the same address. Reports are that on May 10th in Kingstown, an argument ensued over monies belonging to both men. It was during such time that Olivier took a knife and inflicted a stab wound to the face of Hazel. Olivier was escorted to the Serious Offences Court on Monday 21st and pleaded not guilty to the charge. Bail was allowed in the sum of $4,000 with one surety to be examined by the court. The matter was adjourned for trial at the Kingstown Magistrates Court on September 1st, 2014. In more court news now, Sidney Norville will return to the Kingstown Magistrates Court on September 1st to defend the charge of having in his possession one black cap with the name Police on it, which is suspected to be stolen or unlawfully obtained on July 17th. When the defendant appeared at the Serious Offences Court on Monday, July 21st, he maintained his innocence. The police prosecution objected to his bail, stating that in recent times persons have been going around the country using imitation police uniform to commit various crimes and that Norville was of interest to the police. However, the objection was overruled by the district magistrate, Zoila Ellis Brown, and the bail was granted in the sum of $2,000 with one surety. He was also ordered to report to the Central Police Station every Friday between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. until the case is heard. 4 additional persons have been selected to compete in the finals of the Haroon Under the Crown promotion, which will be held this Friday at the Solidarity Incorporated Car Park. The 4 persons are Sherry-Ann Batiste of South Rivers, Kellyanne Sam of Town Hill, Nani Belingi of Buckerment Bay, and Carlos John of Otley Hall. According to commercial manager at the brewery, Sheffield London Williams, for the first time the company will host a live game show. London says the promotion, dubbed Unlock Your Carnival, was launched on May 23rd, and during this 2-month period, several consumers of the Haroon Bay have won instant prizes. That should be prizes. She notes that 6 persons won an instant entry into the draw by getting a door symbol under their crown.
First round, all 10 persons will come up and they'll each pick a key, and one of those keys, only one, will be a winning key. Whatever is behind that door, the person whose key opens that door, the prize belongs to them. The other 9 persons, say for example in the first draw, will go on to door number 2. The 9 persons try the door, and again 1 person will open that door. So that 1 person gets the prize. Could be a really good prize as well as a not so good prize, but they get to walk away with that prize, and the other 8 persons will continue. In the end, there'll be 2 doors left and 2 persons, and those 2 doors will be opened simultaneously. And whatever is behind the door, again, the person whose key fits, who unlocks the door, will win that prize.
He further outlines what are some of the prizes which can still be won.
So for example, behind door number 1, you can see a trip for 2 to crop over. Behind door number 2, you may meet a sparkling tricycle. Behind door number 3 could be a pot set. Behind door number 4, however, could be a room filled with cash. Behind door number 5 could be an ironing board. Behind door number 6 could be a truck load of Haroon bear, your favorite bear. Whereas behind door number 7 could be simply a teddy bear. Behind door number 8 could be a man cave. Behind door number 9, you can get a Lime 4G ready handset with lots of credit on it. Whereas behind door number 10 could be the BMW Z4.